All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So, interesting tape. So, spiders down 0.5%. The Qs are green, nicely green, right? Up almost 0.5%, a little over 30%. We are a little off the highs here, and we're kind of dipping down here on the spiders too. The Dow and the Russell, big losers on the day. Dow down almost 90 basis points, and the Russell here down over 1%, down 1.25 now. So again, same story, right? Big divergence here, broad market in pretty terrible shape, right? The RSP here, equal weight S&P down 1.17, QQQE. Equal weight Qs down 70 basis points versus the triple Qs. Big tech doing all the legwork. Amazon up 2%. Google up 3%. That's a little bit off the highs here. Microsoft up 1%. $2 trillion, well, not $2 trillion, but $1 trillion company. Up another 1% today. Apple actually kind of flattish to positives here, so nothing crazy there, but really four stocks. Oh, and everybody's favorite, Nvidia up 1.3, and AMD, new darling there, up 5%. I think that was up almost 6 at one point there, kind of coming into that little double top, kind of double triple top area there. So again, big tech doing all the work. Dow Transports down 1.16. So weakness there. XLF down 80 basis points. XLV down over 0.5%. XLE down 2 1/3%. Very, very weak tape here. 4 stocks, 5 stocks, give or take. Really doing the whole legwork here. That's nothing new. How long can this go on for? My guess is very, very, very minimally. So again, if we look at the Qs again, this is the big story here. So right now, a lot of the reason we're seeing an increase here is because of, I think, because of put decay and dealers buying back stock. You're also seeing volatility decay here. Tomorrow is VIX expiration, so the VIX will roll over. There should be a gap up in the VIX. That won't affect equities. That's priced in. But after that, I think you kind of see some of this decay disappear. And I talked about this yesterday. The zombie bidders, I think, will go away. And if you get negative news, it's not going to be that 408, we just bounce up like it's magic. I don't think that'll be the case moving forward here. If you get a gap up in the triple Qs, and I'll say this right now, I know everybody's scared to short, but this is when I want to be shorting, to be completely honest, when everyone's scared. But if you just look at the tech, take all the emotion out of it and just look at the technicals here. You have a rising wedge. Yes, we are peaking above that. I like it actually better. If you guys follow the channel, you know my methodology. I love it when you peak above a rising wedge, even crack above it for a few days. Usually sucks in the last couple of buyers here. But again, if we go in and look at the RSI, again, we're seeing declining RSI, which again, that can go on for a while. So that's not to say that we can't go higher. But you look at a few other factors. Let's go back. Let's go to the all-time high. What else do we have here? 50% fib, right around that 330, 331 area. There's a gap fill at 329.28, another gap fill at 332.28, and a double topper here. There's just not a lot of room, right? So that's kind of what I'm saying here. Typically is another thing too. If you go up the first 2 days of Opex and you're up big, usually Wednesday is a bit of a surprise, especially if it can gap up. So I think towards the latter part of the week, we're going to see some risk come into specifically the Qs, but I think, once the Qs are lost, it's going to be the rest of the market here. And I've been favoring this for a little while now. And it's taken time, right? This sort of thing takes time to play out here. We've got this big diamond pattern here on the spiders that's still bearish. In the immediate short term, as long as you're holding this green bar, you could get an advance. So I can't rule anything out there, but, this is very long in the tooth. And again, just cyclically, lots of factors here coming into play technically as well, obviously, like I just said. Another thing with the Qs too that I'm not really seeing a lot of people touch on, and I haven't touched on it that much recently, but look at TLT here. It's down 38 basis points today. The ZB is down 43, and they're saving this. I mean, we could make a case that this is a head and shoulder pattern too. But either way, this is clearly support right here, and if that breaks, it's going to be a big negative. Why does this matter? Well, the Q's got to get back in line, right? So the TLT, if we just add in, we'll just throw on the NDX. Ever since really down here, this has been a divergence. So we had a nice pop up there in the TLT in early March. This has been going higher, TLT's been going lower. Those jaws, they got to do this. And I know somebody in the comments is going to be like, well, what if bonds just catch up? No, bonds aren't going to catch up. The Qs catch up to bonds, not the other way around. So again, just lots of factors here. I think risk reward is heavily favoring the short side right now. You're seeing the action in the Qs, and it's not enough to drag the spiders up. So that's a red flag. Again, we look at RSP, you look at XLE. That's a breakdown. That's a breakdown there. The transports are on the verge of a breakdown. By the way, good way to look at it too. Is this chart bullish or bearish? Right? I bet every one of you is going to call this a cup and handle. So that's just the inverse transports. Very weak there, head and shoulder pattern, inverted cup and handle, whatever you want to call it. There's just lots of weakness here. XLF, as I speak, breaking down right now. IWM starting to roll over as well. So XLF down almost 1% here. And again, it's a big tech show, and we know that. Can they hold the market up a little bit longer? Sure. I've never said that can't happen, but I mean, risk reward here just to me is, it's very skewed. So, I mean, like, here's your upside on the Qs, maybe it's, 3 more points, 4 more points. But, minimum downside, you get back to this trend line here, and that's, 15 points away. You take out the trend line and you get to this pivot, you're probably going to go down to 300, which is where I think you have bigger support. And I think that needs to get tested here. You can't take all of this without giving some back. So that's really what I see here. Again, I could be wrong here. Maybe for the first time ever, TLT catches up to QQQ, but maybe the 50% fib is a nothing burger. Maybe the vol hedges rolling off is a nothing burger. I'm willing to bet that all those factors combined are a something burger. So again, that's what we're going to look at here. But for right now, the market's holding up. It is Opex week. Again, take a look at the price action on the spider specifically. Look at this dump here. So nice little sell there in the last 10 minutes now, 3:50 p.m. Interesting stuff. But anyways, really tight price action all day long. Nice little dump there. But tight price action all day long. I didn't think they would do this in the last 10 minutes here, but typical Opex type theta burning, that type of deal here, and Qs are coming back in off the highs. We'll see if they close it back below that trend line. Interesting action. They're kind of sneaking this in towards the end of the day. You guys know where I stand though. Either case, I've laid that out pretty well with the Qs. I don't think the SPY gets anywhere near 420 at this point. I think right now 415 is probably the max move for this week, unless you get some type of really powerful news. Could the debt ceiling do it? Maybe, if they come to an agreement. But I just think this rally is too long in the tooth. You've had too many chances to break out. So I would say 415 tomorrow is probably about all we're going to do, especially if you gap up there. On the other side, you lose 409. You're probably going to go down and fill this gap. You lose 404. I don't think 400 is a ton of support. I think more likely this trend line here and that 200 moving average will be support. If you lose that, you can go to 380. But we'll see. That's neither here nor there right now. Either way, Russell 2000. We already talked about the Qs, but Russell, very weak. Just, nothing else to say. Down move, bear flag on the weekly. Down move, bear flag on the monthly. Nothing's changed there. Also, the diamond, the Dow here, that's losing support again. So down move, 1, 2, 3, bear flag, and then down again. That loses the 200 moving average. That's in serious trouble as well. So diamond here, they'll probably have some support around 325, but not a good look there. For the Dow, semiconductors had a nice bid again. The AMD really helping out. That's coming nicely off the highs. Take a look there. Nvidia only up 1% now, and the semis here. If this goes red, that's going to be a really bad look going into tomorrow, right? So I had a lot of messages about the semis today too. Oh, what are the semis? Are they going up? I don't really see that much upside here. Again, maybe to this trend line, but they are backing off here. So interesting little price action here as they're jamming that sell into the last 10 minutes. Could they just be shaking people out again? It's certainly possible. Again, it's Opex week, right? So we expect that. We're generally kind of neutral to Opex week here, but when I see a big pump 2 days in a row like that, Monday, Tuesday for Opex, I've seen it too many times. Usually Wednesday you get some type of a fade, and vice versa, right? I'm not just saying this on the bull side or bear side. When you're down big Monday, Tuesday, a lot of the time you get that bid Wednesday. But either way, semis here under pressure. In the last, they're about to go red here. So Interesting. IGV just rolled over red too, down 0.25%. That was not really doing much all day long, really just kind of in a holding pattern. Again, I wouldn't rule out another little pop to the highs if we can get, some type of move in this market, but it looks like, it's less and less likely with each day here that it's not moving. The transports we already mentioned, that's an inverted cup and handle, head and shoulder pattern. You lose this trend line on a weekly close. This has a lot lower to go, but for right now it's hanging in there. In bond land, 2-year down 13 basis points, nothing crazy, actually coming a little bit off the lows here. 10-year down 22 basis points. The TNX up 1.1% there on the yields. Again, yields, big picture, are going higher. Doesn't mean they can't do backing and filling. The 30-year actually starting to curl up a little bit. So interesting look there. And we talked about the TLT. If that starts to break down, it's going to be a huge negative. But for right now, it's hanging in there okay. But that long end, the Fed wants this up. So just be aware of that. XHB here. Even XHB is red today. I know it's unbelievable. So down 1.16. Home Depot reported earnings here. And KRE is taking a huge dump here as we're getting here in the last couple of minutes, by the way. But Home Depot took a big dump today. Bear flag, continuation off of earnings. 2% is a big move for HD. It's holding this pivot, so we'll give it that. And that is kind of putting some weight on the home builders there. ITB managed to rally all the way back to the flat line here, down just 11 basis points. But again, these are all very top heavy. VNQ, finally outside move. I told you guys I don't like this bullish pattern. It just, you've taken way too long. I mean, this has been going on for 7 weeks now. So just not a great look here. Maybe they can save it one more time. Opex stuff here, but not a great chart there on VNQ. XLF, we mentioned, that's down 1% now. KRE here, down 1.4. And you can see here right in the last half hour, really the last hour, pretty good dump there. Market set to close in about 3 minutes. Again, not a good sign. I think Pac West just hit new lows of the day too. Yeah, it looks like it. So again, that's taking down the regionals, and that's really been the big story. Hey, Western Alliance is up, so we'll give it that for now. KBE coming in as well. Again, maybe you're seeing a little bit of put decay in some of the regionals, but they are red today. So respect that. Broker dealers low of the day, actually new lows of the day now, down 0.75%. So right there, just into the lows of the day rather. Again, I can't rule out one more kind of zigzag up. It's not terrible. It's not broken yet, but big picture, it's not in good shape. Crude here, backing off a little bit. I don't like this pattern on crude for a move up. I would be very neutral here. You lose 70, then you got to hold 68. If you don't hold 68, then you're going down here. So a little bit less bullish on crude right now. XLE, again, we talked about this. This is at the lows of the day now as well, too. I think it just made a new low of the day. Again, weakness. I think this has to go down into this island between 70 and 72 there. XOP on the weaker side as well. This has probably got, you got some good support down here at 108, but we'll see what kind of pattern it gives here. I don't like this. It's definitely on the weaker side. The weekly trend is now down, so not the greatest look. OIH holding on to that 100 moving average. If you lose that, I may want to go down and fill this gap here with that 200 MA, so just be careful with OIH here and energy in general. I do like nat gas still, though. It is down 2 cents here, but going to Friday's low to today's high, that's a 15% move. So it has to do some backing and filling. And if it can hold up here and go sideways, it'll get through this 250 handle, and then I think you can push higher. But nat gas really the only thing I like right now in the energy space. Dollar index continuing higher, and you're just consolidating that 50 MA. If we flip over to trading view, so we can get a better look here, since Thinkorswim thinks paper trading is the only thing that matters on the TXY, just kind of consolidating that 50 MA. If this flags and goes higher, again, weekly close above that 20 MA puts a bottom in the dollar here. And again, dollar topped out in September, markets bottomed out in October. And if you really want to be, technical about it, if we just look on the daily here, this is the SPX. You can make a case that this is just like an outlier candle with that CPI gap down. You really bottomed out in late September, and then you had the one more little wick down in October, obviously on the 13th. And the dollar, it just didn't make a new high, but it had, topped out first. As there's the bell, but again, it's been down here, and what have we done? We've been in a consolidation pattern since early February. What's the SPY done since early February? consolidation pattern. So if the dollar bottoms, it's going to put pressure here on the markets. You guys know that. It's not a secret. You get through this area, though, it goes back up to 106. Okay. Gold here and precious metals were under pressure. So gold losing this structure here, or I should say the 20 moving average, it should stall out at the 50. This is still holding up really well. I think it's probably going to need to flag a little bit if it wants to continue lower again, much like the dollar. But no real problems here. Trend is still up. Silver a little bit weaker though. That's not good. You know, you want to see it hold. You want to see that 50 MA bounce, and then you want to see it at least hold that. So this tells me it still has to go lower again. I'm still looking for 23.50 on the weekly. And then if you get through that, probably down to 22. But for right now, it did back off a little bit. You'll have some support. Again, 100 MA, you've got this trend line and the 20-week moving average. So no real problems just yet, but you've done a lot of technical damage there on the daily. And then platinum continuing to chop around. If this can, I like this on the monthly more so than anything. So if we look at this here, you can see we put in this big low, we came down, we retested this breakout area, and then we came up, and now we have kind of a higher low. And if this can just consolidate here, I like this for an advance. So that's really what I'm looking at there when I talk about platinum. Palladium, you guys know it's a 618, so I'm just looking for a bullish pattern there. Really, I would say probably on the weekly time frame if you can get that, especially weekly and daily. I like palladium here. Longer term than copper. Still breaking down. If this gets to 360 in the next day or two, I think this could be a quick buy. I just don't think you've consolidated enough to get through that area. And basically what I'm looking at is, it's pretty simple. You just have that 618 right around 360, and this is right here. Pattern here. Red bar. Inside of that red bar was a bear flag that failed. So that's where the money is sitting. So 618 in that area there. Also, you can see, pivot, pivot, pivot. So there's prior support there. But I think if you could get there, in the next day or two, that's probably, if you're aggressive, you could take that for a quick long. Outside of that, the better level's around 340. So, but yeah, copper did pull back, and then Bitcoin here, which we'll go over to. That is, so the bears stepped in, and I tweeted about this. We talked about this yesterday. It was above the neckline yesterday. They stepped in, and they pushed it back down. So Bitcoin bears, they're still, for right now, in control on the daily, and that's still triggered. So that neckline's still acting as resistance. They can negate it with a close above that, so it's not to say that it can't happen, and the weekly is still okay. I think if you take out this, 25,000 handle, though, it's probably over with, but, and I still think it's top heavy anyway, but either way, bears stepped in. So again, there's another little point for the bears, really across the board, I would say. So anyways, spiders here. Let's take a look here. Yeah, pretty good dump into the close. Nice little flush there. Semis did close negative. Let's look at that chart again. Down 2 basis points. Nothing. Now it's not like it's terrible, right? But when you were green all day long like that, especially popping up in 12 o'clock, and then you just flushed negative here, definitely not the way you wanted to close the day as a bull. AMD coming pretty sharply off the highs. Nvidia, it was up 1% here, but that's a pretty good sized tail there, and you did uptick on volume a little bit. Let's look on the pretty good dump there. I mean, it's a good little sell. Tesla coming in off the highs, and the Qs here still finished positive, but that trend line, right? So that wedge trend line is holding, and that's what's keeping it down here. Now I'll be watching. I'm interested to see what happens tomorrow. I don't know if we can see. My thesis here was around 4 hours ago. We're up at the highs. We close up at the highs today, and we gap up tomorrow. That's a huge, no-brainer short to me. Now it's more kind of like, well, we came off the highs, so what are we going to do tomorrow? Definitely interesting. Did they just paint the tape a little bit to kind of flush some people out? Certainly possible here. Looking at, XLE closing at the lows of the day. Transports got whacked into the end of the day, closing right on that trend line. IGV getting hit. Microsoft giving back some of those gains. So interesting little hit there. XLF basically finished down 1%. So interesting price action there. Yeah, and you got to love Opex week, and that's why you don't want to get too bullish or bearish here. Look at where the Russell closed today. So pretty soft close there. And again, that just, forget the 50 MA. That's been struggling with the 20 moving average there. So Lots of weakness here. Again, you guys know where I stand. Nice little dump there into the close. VIXy getting a pop. Remember, VIX expiration tomorrow. A lot of those puts are going to start to decay. And, well, they have decayed, but that kind of invisible buyback bid is starting to fade here. So just be aware of that. Anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you all tomorrow.